Welcome back, you filthy last Epoch players. Alright, so as you would have seen on my stream the other day, I haven't had as much time as I normally would to get into the game, but we have shield bash working, right? And we can just keep hitting and yeah. But how do we get this to work? Well, number one, if we go to skills, we go to shield bash. It's based off this flurry of blows node that they added in, which means there's no cooldown but a mana cost. We lose our 100% stun or ignite, but that doesn't really matter. The other thing that I'm doing here is I am strength stacking. So we use iron arms in the tree here. This allows us to strength stack, and currently I have like 51 strength, which is buffing up my skill. Aside from this, I have a 100% armor shred as well, which comes off the tree. So we chuck on hammer and anvil, which is something that only the Forge Master can have, and this is a Forge Master build, so it's a little bit different. And the other big thing about shield bash now is we have high impact, which means other multipliers buff out, and we also have this node called Indomitable Force, which means that per 40 block effectiveness we get 2 base damage, which essentially means that if we stack a ton of block effectiveness on our shield and on our build, in this case my shield, which is pretty low level, is 749 block effectiveness, and we'll buff this up once I get all my idols and whatnot unlocked, we can do a huge amount of damage, basically stacking defenses to get offense. So this build is quite tanky, even as it is. Where I'm at currently is I'm just progressing my monoliths because I haven't had a lot of time to play like usual, and so far it's going pretty well. Outside of that, we also have Shield Storm now, which allows us a cap of 50% attack speed, and for every 1% block chance, in this case I have 50% block chance, I get an additional amount of 0.5 of attack speed to my shield bash, which allows me to hit faster and faster as we go. Now, I haven't got the unique shield yet. That'll be in the second video once I get this build to a more complete level. And basically, we've got a bit of patchwork gear in here, but we'll talk about gearing and everything very shortly. Overall, build feels really good. It's actually quite a lot of fun. It was a little slower initially, but I managed to start my first monoliths at about level 43. So that's about where you want to start monolithing. So I haven't even finished the campaign yet. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the details of gearing and whatnot and talk about the build in more detail. Okay, so in relation to gearing on this build, basically you want to try and stack as much strength on your gear as you possibly imaginably can. In this case, I've got a helmet with high strength, void res, and overall armor and crit multiplier. My amulet unfortunately doesn't have strength, but has attack speed and flat global physical damage because you can't stack damage the conventional way, I found. It's very similar like Shield Crush in Path of Exile. Shield, you want a high amount of block effectiveness. Block effectiveness is where your damage is going to come from. If you can get additional amounts on the shield, even better. If you can get like flat, like physical damage off the shield, even better. And block chance will increase your attack speed as well. Chest, want a strength stacking chest with resistances and everything. Right now, this is working really well for me. My axe, global physical damage and increased melee physical damage. And if you can get a little bit of bleed, even better. Fragility, armor shred, all that sort of stuff works really good on an axe for now until I get the axe that looks like a shield. Rings, same go. Block effectiveness on your rings, strength and physical damage, and any crit multipliers or anything like that. This isn't a great ring because its implicits aren't good. Currently, I'm running the Scavenger Belt, which is helping me get easy haste buffing as well. Then I'm also running another ring, which is giving me, again, block, flat physical, more resistances, more healing effectiveness, and which works really well on the Forge Guard, which can feed into Paladin points as well. And then my gloves, I'm running Fighting Chance. It just gives you good amounts of basically all the stats you need. And you don't worry about the increased damage taken because it means nothing, but 71% increased flat melee damage is awesome. On my boots, again, strength, armor, movement, speed, any resistances are all preferable. And in my my relic, I had this drop. It's in no way BIS, but 33% increased resistances is pretty good. So yeah, it's basically it for gearing. Now idols, I'm still sort of gearing up, but you basically want armor shred on melee hit and or any other sort of relic that gives you block effectiveness. That's going to increase your base damage. The potential for this build to absolutely go off the hinges is outrageous because you can stack so much block effectiveness in those higher levels. So I shouldn't have any issues getting to empowered monoliths in the next day or so once I get back online a bit more. Okay, so in relation to skills, I used Vengeance to level up just because it was like a tankier option. And it does give you Dark Jewels, which gives you global damage, which is pretty good. And then you also get Perfect Repoussé, and you also get Bolster, which means you get less damage taken when you start hitting and increased armor. So it's good because you're not really relying on it, but it's there just in case you need to top up your mana and weight. Currently, there's a bit of a mana issue in the build, so that's what I use this for. It just works really well. I couldn't find anything else that sort of works better than this. Obviously, shield bash. So the route that I took was essentially you need to go cutting edge, you need to get indomitable force, and then you need to go straight to flurry of blows. And then basically you want to go up and get high impact or shield storm first, and then high impact. Then you go to steel coating and then iron arms, and then basically you just keep progressing these until they're capped. I also have a lunge setup as well, and basically it's just like a damage reduction lunge setup, which goes to Dawn Charge, Juggernaut Dash, Unstoppable. And then we go up to Warrior's Renewal, Endless Will, into Ambuscade and Double Strike, and then Lead the Charge, which gives me haste. Then I have Ring of Shields. Now I use Ring of Shields to buff up my damage. So yeah, I go up to like 10,000. So to be able to do that, basically you want to get increased reinforcement. I went into Tempered Steel, Martyr of Shields, then into Defensive Shields, which increases block effectiveness. So per shield, you get increased block effectiveness, and we don't need Rush Wall. And then I also went down into Banding, into Enduring Defense, so it lasts for longer, and Shield Spike as well, which gives me a bit of damage reflect, but I'm still tuning this up. And then finally, for when I need it, I've got Healing Hands off the Paladin, just because I can. And then we go into Divine Barrier. We want Home Ward as well, so we cast it essentially on ourselves if we're not casting on an ally. And then we also come down and we get Prayer of the Fallen, we get Vow of Restoration into Sacred Gift, then into Blessed Parish, and then finally into Purity of Thought, which reduces the cost of it when you need it. So when you need it and it's clutch, you've got it. Finally, for passive tree, so essentially you want to level up through and get Juggernaut early on, and then you want to get some points into Fearless to get your HP pool out. Stalwart, because it gives you block effectiveness again. And then Armorclad, we get damage reduction, increased armor, nothing wrong with that. By that point, you should be like capped out, and then you can move into the Forge Master. Now, this is a strength stacker, so we need Weapon Master, so we can get 10 extra strength. This increases our damage pretty significantly. You also want Steel Aegis, because again, block effectiveness. I got a little bit of Rallying Block, but I haven't leveled that up too much. Some points into Unflinching, Guardian, then some Thornmail points. Then we want to cap Bat Hammer and Anvil, so we get 100% Armor Shred, which is really powerful. I've got 1 point in Iron Attunement, and then into Might for more strength, then into Flawless Defender, and into Walls of Solarum, and then we're going to level the shit out of Shield Crafter, and then we'll be able to auto-trigger Ring of Shields as well, which is going to auto-trigger our buff as we're hitting away and make this build significantly more tanky. And block effectiveness per shield is 20 per point, so that means we'll get like 40 damage per point for all 5 shields, so for each of the 5 shields that spawn, so we get an extra 100 base damage, which is going to buff up our damage pretty significantly as well. Then I've got 5 points in a Paladin for Honor, and again, we get an extra 200 block effectiveness out of this. And then progressively, we might sort of push some more points into this, in particular, most likely around Defiance to give me attunement, to get my mana pool and whatnot up. And in the Void Knight, we'll probably switch into some Abyssal Endurance nodes, so we get Void Res and Physical Res and increased health, so we can make this build even tankier. Okay, so hopefully there's enough detail in this if you want to go this route and play the skill. I really like the Forge Master, or the Forge Guardian, sorry. I think it's a really fun class, and I think it's got the potential to be one of the tankier classes in the game. So far, that's definitely the experience I'm having. But anyway, if this helps you, fantastic. But anyway, if you like this type of video, don't forget to like and sub to the channel. And I'll have a second part to this probably over the weekend done, and then we'll be doing a bunch of Path of Exile content leading into the announcements coming out next week for League Start. So we've got to get some League Starter guides finished. The first one that's off the ranks is going to be Shield Crush, funnily enough, which is basically what this skill is. Except in Path of Exile. Anyway, I'll see you guys later, and have a good one.